The Reality of Inequity series, which will take place over the course of this year, it really examines the obstacles that are often faced by hardworking people in our region who try as they might, just can't make ends meet. Since 2017, United Way's in Maryland have commissioned an in-depth study of this population. It's called the ALICE Report. ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained Employed. These are people who are working in 1, 2, and sometimes even more low-paying jobs who just can't afford the basics in life. They're struggling. I'm talking about just the necessities like housing, food, the things many of us take for granted: healthcare, childcare, transportation, and taxes. Simply put, they don't earn enough to keep pace with the state's high cost of living. And so research shows that Black families disproportionately have difficulty accessing childcare due to things like cost and location, among other things. And so this report is so useful in so many ways, right? I'd like to thank our corporate partner, Kaiser Permanente, for their very generous sponsorship of the ALICE Report. Without partners like this, we could not make this vital information available to the public widely. So we've developed the Realities of Inequity series, really primarily to raise awareness, right, of the barriers that prevent people from being financially stable and that have really resulted in long-standing inequity for so many in our region. So today, this morning, we'll be talking about the importance of childcare that families really can afford, and that is really close to where they live. But not only that, where they work as well. And so this is a huge need, not only here in our region, but across the country. And allow me to share a little bit about what United Way is doing in this space. Our neighborhood zones in the Baltimore neighborhoods of Brooklyn and Poppleton, and in Columbia, other critical services and supports for children and families and area residents. In each neighborhood, we met with residents and community leaders to begin to learn more about the challenges that they're facing and what they need and what they want to live a better life. Then we respond with customized, it's an important word, customized services based on their unique needs. This is not by any stretch, right, a scenario where we are replicating the exact same services. We're really listening carefully and customizing it to the needs in that particular locale. The variety of services that we provide based on their input creates a hub of support and includes the United Way Family Centers. These centers provide high quality childcare and early childhood development programs, and they're staffed by a team of high quality professionals who work closely with families to really help them become more self-sufficient. That really is at the base of what we're trying to achieve, right? And so what makes our programs different from so many others, in addition to the lasting change that they generate, right, year after year, month after month, is that they are neighborhood driven. Now I'd like to share a short video that shows the power as well as the impact of our family centers.
When it comes to this job, I love it so much. Even at 5:30 in the morning, I really take pride in my job. In 2013, I wasn't working a regular job. I was about to lose my house and electric turned off, and it was pretty hard times for it. But anyway, United Way, man, they had all these programs. They had a lady there to help you with resumes, to help you get a job, getting your credit right. And they had like 10 or 12 programs that I participated in. So then up at the Ben Franklin High School, they were starting a daycare center, and I said, man, I'll be your janitor. I'll do whatever you need me to do. And they needed a driver. Turned out to be a great job, I'm telling you. It's not just a job for me, you know, so. The girl I'm picking up now, she is such a good mother, such a good student. I really think a lot of this young lady. Hi, Anthony. Good morning, Miss Carmela.
Hi, people. I wake up at 4:30. We get dressed. I fix breakfast. We be on the bus an hour and probably 45 minutes because we don't get to school till 7:45.
Look at the beautiful sunrise.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you later, honey.
Anthony was about 3 months when I came to sign him up for daycare so I can get transferred here. They helped me out a lot with Anthony. After that, all my grades, they went up. They way better than I had before I even came here. All my grades is A's and B's. I'm looking at colleges now, so I can go to college. Before I even came here, I wasn't even thinking about college. The school is just it's like family. That's how I look at it. Like some of my counselors, I can say social workers, they don't only just do their job, but I feel like they love you too. Oh my God.
Franklin, you're muted.
Just wanted to share that we did not bring to your attention at the beginning to bring Kleenex because it's a very emotional video we would show. The support that both Carmela and her son Anthony received really changed their lives. And it's not just childcare, right? Or the help and support that you saw Carmela get in the video. Our family centers also provide high quality early childhood education, which is so vitally important. So research shows that children who have an experience like Anthony's are much better prepared for school and for life in general. They're more skilled, better educated, have better employment opportunities, and more stable lives and families. And that's what we all want. So outcomes like these improve lives, and they save our local and national governments money in the long run. Clearly, investing in childcare is an investment in our economy. As for Carmela, the young lady you saw in the video, lots of people always ask us after seeing this video, where is she now? Well, I am so happy to report that she graduated high school, as she said, really great GPA, and is a lab technician right now at Johns Hopkins University. The United Way neighborhood zones and the family centers within them are focused really on long-term results. We meet with and really listen to residents and community leaders. This helps us learn much more about the challenges, the everyday grind that they're facing in their life, but also about the strengths and assets of their neighborhoods. So together, I love this word, we co-create solutions that stand the test of time. And as you may know, or maybe you don't know this, but United Way has served Greater Baltimore for 95 years. We have such deep roots and so much knowledge about this region. When we join forces with local leaders and residents, we achieve, I really believe, great things, and they're creating meaningful, lasting change. I'm excited about what you're about to hear. I'll turn it now over to Heather.
Thank you so much, Franklin. So as Franklin said, this series focuses on what's keeping people from making ends meet. And is a big barrier for families, especially those in the Alice population, it's the high cost of childcare. Finding childcare centers that are close to where parents live and work is also a challenge for so many families. COVID-19 has really spotlighted the dire need for affordable, accessible childcare. Today, we'll learn more about this need and what it means for families and businesses and what we can do about it. We have a terrific group of business and community leaders here with us today who are going to tell us more about this challenge. I'm happy to introduce Stephen R. Hicks, Assistant State Superintendent, Division of Early Childcare, Maryland State Department of Education, Nett Stokes, Executive Director, Just Living Advocacy, Ryan Brown, Vice President Operations, Howard County General Hospital, a member of Johns Hopkins Medicine, and Jacqueline R. Scott, Director, Howard County Government, Department of Community Resources and Services. Thank you all so much for being a part of this important discussion today. So I'll start with a question for you all. I personally have heard of so many parents that are at home working, even today, with their kids trying to get work done, or people who have to go out and work on the front lines and have difficulty, they just can't find care for their children. Would each of you share an experience that you or someone you know has faced in dealing with childcare challenges during this pandemic? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all of us in profound ways. We've all been met with challenges over the past 5 months, both in our professional lives and personal lives. And you think about how managing those challenges together, it's been overwhelming in many instances. As a hospital, as you can imagine, the majority of our workforce could not work from home. They had to be on site caring for patients in our community. This presented significant challenges for employees that needed childcare or had children that needed to be homeschooled, because most childcare facilities had been temporarily closed. The governor's state, as well as the county executive and Johns Hopkins Medicine, all tried to bring childcare resources to bear for healthcare workers. However, when you're in the midst of a highly infectious disease, the options are somewhat limited. So in most instances, staff had to work through family and friends to find resources to care for their children. So globally, our organization, it's been quite stressful during the pandemic to juggle everything that they need to do, both in their professional life and personal.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And appreciate all the work that your staff does every day. Jackie, can we hear from you, those experiences?
Absolutely. Good morning, and thank you for having me for this important conversation. So like Ryan, but nowhere near, just the work that the hospital has had to do through this pandemic, and my hat's off to all of his team and the staff there at the hospital. They were tremendous partners with us, but we are a very high touch department. We serve people across the lifespan, and what we found during this pandemic is that numerous staff were juggling their passion, commitment, and dedication to caring for the people that they could not literally touch day by day. So they had to change their work style and how we communicated, but then they were juggling the demands of their own homes. So with the people in our department, I have single moms, I have people who have children who are living with disabilities, who have really high touch needs and care. We have 2-parent households who are juggling different schedules, some who were first responders, and then others who had to be at home. So with that, we had to really look at, how do we change our framework? How do we allow our colleagues, including our pets, to somehow come into the screen during the day, and join us for meetings? But we also had to find ways to relieve the stress, to make room for families who had young children to be able to do the work that they could do within their role with us, but then also take the time necessary to be with their families, to relieve that part of the stress so that their minds could then be on the daily work of the department. So it has been a tremendous juggle and dance, but it has, we've tried to make it work.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It sounds like you all have used some creative and flexible ways to just accommodate your staff. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Nat, can you share with us some of the experiences that you or someone you know has faced during this time?
Thank you so much, Heather, for having me. Absolutely. Coming from a place like so many of these women have experienced, and being a single mom, coming from a place of poverty, I have walked their walk, and even having children who are experienced the same walk. So I feel their pain. I've had that pain. But to answer your question another way, I like to read a thank you note that I received from someone that we have helped. It states, "Dear Ms. Stokes, thank you for your listening ear and your referrals to assist me with my special needs child care. Having a child care provider that had to lay off staff, which was certified to care for my special needs son, was a gut punch for me. I lost child care. And after many, many calls, I encountered the same responses. We are at capacity. We are not open. Price quoted was too expensive. After exhausting 2 weeks of paid vacation to stay home with my child, I was now on personal leave without pay, which brought about another hardship. No money for food and bills. After finding your services through the ACS guide, the Association of Community Services of Howard County guide, and that connected me with you, you were able to help me as well as direct me to other resources that helped me. Thanks again, sincerely. I will not share her name. But these are the type of stories. This is one which mimics so many. And I appreciate the opportunity to bring light to what is happening in our county.
Such a heart-wrenching story, and one that I'm sure is not alone. Nat, thank you so much for the work that you do and for supporting so many families.
Thank you.
Stephen, can you also share with us experiences that you understand?
Yes, thank you so much, Heather, and Franklin, thank you for your leadership. This couldn't be a more important time to highlight these long-standing inequities that exist in our country, but particularly in Maryland and particularly in the communities in which you are focusing. And thank you for really shining a light on the particular struggle we have with families trying to find affordable, quality childcare so they can work, so they can go on with their lives, so they can support their families, and so they can thrive. I've received many phone calls and emails from parents in the last few weeks. Yesterday, I received one from Mary, a nurse and a single mother. Mary doesn't have a strong support system around here with family and friends. She's raising a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old on her own. She felt she had done a good job of piecing together childcare last spring when schools suddenly closed, using a neighbor to help her and another parent. But during the summer, her childcare scholarships went to full-time care so she could take care of have her kids taken care of while she could focus on her work, her really important work as an essential person. But now with school starting, she's terrified. She doesn't have the additional income to pay for childcare for both her kids this fall. And in her community, childcare can range from $250 per week per child in licensed childcare to $600 for illegal, unregulated childcare, the kind we are seeing popping up all over the state and preying on desperate parents. We don't have the additional funds in my division to cover expanded full-day scholarships for school-age kids this fall. So Mary, like many parents, will have to make difficult decisions between the safety of her children and her job and which bills to pay. These are choices families should not have to make, and it's the kind of support from the United Way and others in the community, public-private partnerships that are going to really provide the critical lifeline that parents need. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen, and thanks so much to all of our panelists for the perspective that you shared, and it begins to shape the importance of the conversation that we're having today. United Way has focused on this issue for years now through our neighborhood zones and our family centers. The United Way neighborhood zone in Brooklyn is a prime example and really shows how a united front can help transform a community. Based in a South Baltimore high school, the neighborhood zone grew out of a three-phase approach. We listened to what community members wanted and needed. We built on their existing strengths, and we developed a variety of services for students, their parents, and neighborhood residents. In our listening sessions, we learned that there was a big need for childcare for teen parents who were in school, as well as early childhood education, so the Family Center was born. The Family Center within this neighborhood zone has attracted national attention and acclaim. The graduation rate for students in the center is an amazing 74% compared to a national average of only 40% for teen parents. This and many other successes resulted in United Ways being invited by the University of Maryland, Baltimore to partner with them in their work to improve lives in West Baltimore's Poppleton neighborhood. Poppleton and the surrounding areas have so many strengths, but are among the city's most under-resourced. They rank low on social capital, education, neighborhood quality, and public health and safety. So we've created the United Way neighborhood zone in Poppleton. It's becoming a true resource hub, helping students, their families, and neighborhood residents with education, housing, health, and jobs. And the planned Family Center there will offer early childhood education, so that young children are school ready, and will offer childcare for students with IFIDs. We know that each region, each neighborhood has different strengths and obstacles. Howard County has a reputation of being a wealthy area. In fact, it has one of the highest median incomes in the state. But we also know that thousands of residents struggle daily to afford the cost of living there. Our ALICE report, which, as Franklin remarked, reveals why there are so many working in low-paying jobs, sometimes 2 or more jobs. They just can't make ends meet. It shows that 28% of households in Howard County are ALICE. And the overwhelming majority of these, 26%, are families with children. They just don't earn enough money to pay back or be able to pay for basics a lot of us take for granted. A safe, affordable place to call home, medical care to be able to keep our families healthy, or a car to get to work or to the grocery store to eat. In addition, these families spend more than 20% of their income on childcare. This is double the national recommendation of 10%. For many who fit the ALICE profile, childcare is their second largest expense after housing. At United Way, we've always provided what's needed where it's needed. To that end, we're establishing the United Way Family Center in Columbia, which is slated to open April 2021. This center will offer a multi-generational, trauma-informed approach, which is a framework that is responsive to the very stressful events that some of our families experience. We focus on strengthening the whole family, connecting them with comprehensive services and building on their existing assets. And the need is great. In the zip codes that will be served by the Family Center, 1 in 3 households earn at or below the ALICE survival budget income. United Way's Family Center in Columbia will accept childcare subsidies. We'll also offer reduced tuition for those who fit the ALICE profile. On behalf of United Way, I'd like to thank our partners for their generous support of this initiative. And we're always looking for more names to add to this list, so please join us. So this time, we'd like to begin our panel discussion at this time. So again, thank you to our panelists for joining us today. So Stephen, we'll start the discussion with you. MSDE will soon release a statewide strategic plan which outlines its priorities for early childhood education partners across the state. Can you briefly share an overview of that and how the United Way Family Center in Columbia fits into this plan?
Yes, and thank you so much, Heather. So this fall, we plan to release our strategic plan. This is our prenatal to age 8 strategic plan. Now, this isn't just MSDE's plan. This is the plan for the whole state, working in collaboration with our colleagues at the Department of Human Services and the Department of Health, and so many local partnerships across the state. A couple years ago, we had our needs assessment, and we had 9 town halls that we held both in the evening and in the morning to meet the needs of families and childcare providers and other members of the community, to gather input on what are their needs, what is it that we should be doing to support families and children prenatal to age 8. And we're excited to be able to this fall finally release that plan with the input of all of those stakeholders, especially parents trying to meet their needs. I am so excited that this family center is being launched in the spring of next year. This will be a model for not only other jurisdictions, but how we can actualize and deploy the goals and strategies from our plan. The plan takes similar points of view as the goals of this family center, with a whole family approach, either 2-generation or even 3-generation. We have so many grandparents in our communities taking care of children now, young children. I love that there's a family service coordinator planned, that you're focusing on keeping childcare costs low with public-private partnerships, and also the state's focus and effort on expanding childcare scholarships. And I especially like the trauma-informed approach that you just spoke about, Heather, because that is a really big piece of our strategic plan, and you'll see that woven out throughout, because we know that parents and children and providers are suffering from lots of different aspects and challenges in their daily life that affect their progress and their success. Very quickly, the 6 areas of these goals that are aligned, I feel strongly with this family center, are strengthening availability and access. So that is exactly what the goal of the center is: access to all of the needs for a family, not just childcare, but employment needs of the parent, mental health needs, social services. This is exactly the kind of actualization of the strategic plan that we want to see in this kind of setting. The second goal is to improve this and support program quality by increase the quality across the sectors, and focused on equity especially. There is no greater time than right now to really shine a light on the inequities, as you do in your ACEs report and as you can do through this family center, and make sure that all our kids have access to quality supports and all our families have access to the supports they need to thrive. The third area is deepening family engagement. By increasing families' awareness of the importance of high quality childcare programs and early childhood programs, and expanding that 2-generational programming to enhance families' opportunities to engage. The Family Center will be a beacon in the community to do that. The next area is to ensure that there are successful transition experiences for children and for families. So as families transition between different jobs, trying to better their income, trying to better the sustainability of their thriving family, that's what the family centers can do, as well as helping children progress through early childhood programs, from supports at the prenatal stage to supports for babies, to infants and toddlers, to pre-K, and then into the schools. The fifth area is to expand and enhance workforce development. This is for parents, of course, but also to make sure the caregivers and the childcare teachers that are working with young children have the skills and knowledge they need to help children thrive. And finally, the last area that we have in our strategic plan is to improve systems and the infrastructure and the data. It's going to be so important. And I know data is so critical, as I see it in your ACEs report, for making sure that we implement real change in our communities. Thanks so much for letting me share about the strategic plan, and you'll be finding out more information about our launch in the fall.
Thank you so much, Stephen. That was such a comprehensive explanation of the strategic plan that will be rolling out, and it's so good to hear that the Family Center that we have planned really is a parallel overlay of that plan. So thank you so much. So Jackie, in 2018, when strengths and needs were being assessed, you were one of the advocates who requested the Family Center be expanded to Howard County. Can you tell us why you felt and still feel that this initiative is an important addition to Howard County's resources for its residents?
Absolutely. And you've made much of the case already with the data, with Franklin, your opening statements, the conversations we've had about what it takes to really live here in Howard County. We love it here, but we know that there are needs. And there are oftentimes people don't think of us as a community that has needs in this way, that we don't, think about Howard County as being a place where people are really struggling literally to make ends meet. So there were 3 things that I think that really brought me on board almost immediately. The first I credit to you all and this team. You listened. You had a model in another jurisdiction that worked. You had an idea, and Franklin, you could have come in and just said, hey, we're setting up shop here in Howard County. Here, we do this well, here's what we're doing. But instead, you chose the path of collaboration and conversation, and you listened, and you were willing to, you put your team in here on the ground, worked with us, and we began conversations that mattered. And that listening was really important. The second piece of that leveraged that listening was really that you then trusted us. You trusted our voice, you trusted our experience, you trusted the opinions. And you did that by gathering across sector. I mean, we had been talking about this in many different areas in this county. And so it wasn't a new idea, it was enhanced though by you coming in as a partner. So a huge thanks to ACS that worked on this issue so early on. Leadership Howard County, who stepped in as a partner, created opportunities for people to really dig deep and provide research so that we had the information we needed to be data-driven. Our department, Office of Children and Families, the work that they do every day in this space, our board to promote self-sufficiency, working on this issue, community-wide collaboration was so key in doing this. And we came up with exactly where you're talking about accessibility, quality, and affordability with equity at the center. And those things really mattered, and they were part of a true alignment for what this community stands for. I could not be behind it, right? And then thirdly, there was true cross-sector and multi-sector investment. And so as we kept these conversations going, as we trusted the data and did the research, and we listened to the people on the ground, we knew that there were important things around making this work. And they were, first, that all of our children deserve an equitable opportunity to be safe, to be cared for, and to be educated in a quality environment. And everybody believed in that. Then we had, the opportunity to create jobs and partnerships and learning opportunities with anchors like HCC and others who were interested in making sure that we were creating a space where everybody, workforce development, other folks could come into play. And then thirdly, we had the importance of investment from the business community. The business community from across sector recognized that investing in quality childcare made a difference, because then if our employees don't have to worry about how safe their kids are during the day, they can come into the workforce free of that and bring their energy in to be productive employees and put everything they need to be able to be focused and energized on their tasks at hand. So when these things continue to come together and roll up, and then we had voices like Net and other strong advocates coming to the table saying, yes, you're doing the right thing, we need this, I could not do this, right? And it remains a critical piece, and COVID has just echoed that 100-fold as we see the disproportionate impact on families, frontline workers, women, people of color. So this is an important piece of our work daily in our department, but in our community. So I'm happy to be a part of it and be an advocate. So that's why.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And I think you said it best throughout, all of your comments. We could not do this without all of the partners around the table throughout this entire process. You spoke to collaboration, access, equitable access, the collaboration. That's what it's all about, listening to the community. That's the process. So thank you so much. We appreciate you all that have been a part of this. So Brian, can you share with us why it's so important that your hospital supports this initiative?
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather. And it's so nice to see the enthusiasm from Jackie. I know that we've had so many partners in the community as this project has evolved with the same level of excitement. First, I would say that Howard County General Hospital is part of Johns Hopkins Medicine. We've had a very long-standing relationship with the United Way of Central Maryland, working together on many strategic initiatives. So the foundation was there for us to look at this initiative. I've had the really great pleasure of serving on the United Way board over the past couple of years. And over those years, I've really been educated by Franklin and the team about ALICE. And in particularly when you look at Howard County and the ALICE population, Jackie and even you, Heather, had mentioned sometimes we don't think about the ALICE population when you hear about Howard County. We think of the highly regarded school systems, the number of people with advanced degrees, the median household income. But the truth is, as you mentioned in your opening comments, Heather, Howard County is a community, nearly 1/3 of the population is as ALICE. And we began to look at this childcare and how we could help this population as a local run board. Childcare was always on the top of the list. When you look at expenses for households, childcare is usually one or two as far as the expenses that they have. We also looked at, frankly, the supply of childcare in the community. And at baseline, Carrie Staten and others helped us become educated at this, just the lack of childcare across the community. It's further exacerbated when you examine the number of centers that are willing to accept vouchers or subsidies. So we have a problem of supply and demand where there's a lot of families looking for childcare, particularly in that ALICE population, and limited number of spots. When the opportunity came along for Howard County General Hospital to partner with the United Way around a family center in Columbia, we were ecstatic. We see the need in the community, and so just from a standpoint of trying to help our community, social and moral responsibility, we are on board. But also when you think about it as an employer, we are the third largest employer in the county. And when we look at it from the lens of being an employer, we have a good number of folks that serve our patients and are employed by us that are of ILS population. So we feel it's our duty to try and help support these families, bringing stability in a number of ways, and childcare is one of those ways. So the partnership made complete sense to both support our community and employees. And we're directly in line to this and very proud to be a partner with the United Way of Central Maryland on this initiative.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's such an important partnership for both the hospital and your employees. So thank you so much. And the community. Next, good morning again.
Good morning.
So transportation can be a challenge for people who work in Howard County. We often assume that everyone owns a vehicle, but there are many families that rely on public transportation to get their children to childcare and then to work. Given the current system, can you share more about these challenges and how this can be a barrier to those seeking childcare?
Yes, of course. I mean, transportation is an intricate piece for all of us. It's the means to our livelihood. And those who work and that needs that public transportation to get to work and to and from childcare is a very important piece in reducing the social and economic inequalities that exist here in Howard County. And yes, it does exist here in Howard County. We have to, enhance the mobility that are in areas, especially in the Route 1 corridor, which has built up so much within Howard County. We have a lot of impoverished families that are growing in Howard County. Howard County is a place where everybody wants to get to, as it's been stated, as it is a county of choice throughout the U.S. But however, there are families that lack that. The access to transportation to get to the child care, to get to the resources is a huge issue and concern that has to be addressed, and we have to improve it. For services outside the primary residence is a huge obstacle for sources of income. So families that live in these areas, especially in the Route 1 corridor of Howard County, transportation is huge, and it's a huge barrier. And some have said Uber and Lyft is just not going to cut it, And we have to face it that transportation is an overlooked poverty problem. Public transportation can have a disproportionate impact on the working poor. And so we have to do things better to improve what is already being laid out and in place for our communities of poor and mostly communities of color to access that are living in these areas within the county. So I do like to thank the county for focusing on this area because they are, but without public transportation, there is no work. And if you don't have access to things like this family support center to get to, there is no work. So access to transportation and having transportation is a barrier that I look forward to all community partners to come together to work on to make it better for people to reach economic stability within their families.
Thank you so much, Net, for that explanation. It's so important to understand how public transportation is currently working. And so as we understand that, Ryan, we move back to you. So not only does high quality childcare benefit employees, but it also benefits the employer. It seems the hospital recognized this early on. How would you tell an employer about investing in a quality childcare for their employees?
Sure. It's a great question. I first would just start with saying, when you look at the work that United Way of Central Maryland has done with the Ben Center, with the video you showed at the opening, just the ability to support the community was enough for our organization to support this initiative. But if we just simply look at the perspective of an employer, more of an intrinsic view of this, there are probably three main points that we looked at. First is we are extremely dependent upon the attendance of our employees. I think most businesses are like that. It's very difficult for us to manage when we have call-outs. Having stable and dependable childcare in the community for our workforce improves attendance. It's a very practical approach to it, but we feel it's very meaningful. Many examples were talked about opening stories of parents left with difficult decisions of taking vacation time or sick time to care for a child. Dependable childcare in our community for our workforce simply provides the platform for our employees to show up on a regular basis and on time. Secondly is financial stability. We heard Stephen talk about the cost of childcare very specifically. And when you think about Alice families, they're making, again, very difficult financial decisions of needing to pay for childcare at the compromise of other household expenses. If we can provide more affordable childcare for employees, we feel that it would provide much more stability for them. Perhaps the opportunity to save and advance their family from a financial perspective. And the last is professional development and retention. Our support of this family center is multi-year. And so when we think of the benefit for employees longitudinally, they could feel very secure and it can help them grow professionally. I have one story that I would tell is that we have a security officer named John at the hospital. And I think that this story sort of highlights the opportunity of providing childcare and the ability for him to advance. He was formerly on the day shift, and everyone that would walk in the hospital would know him. Huge smile when you walk in the door. He's the person that greets you, but also was making sure that the front entrance was secure and safe. John came to us and indicated that he needed to change his shift, working the overnight shift. And the reason is that he and his wife were trying to balance a family. They had children. The wife was going to go to work during the day, and so John needed to work overnight. And so when you think about the challenges that a family like that has of trying to make ends meet, trying to make sure that there's a parent always there to get kids off to school or to get them when they come home, the ability for them to perhaps partake in a program that we have at the hospital for tuition reimbursement, meaning maybe for John or his wife to go back and get a degree or advanced degree, it becomes very hard for them to do that when they're trying to juggle all these things. An example like that, where maybe John and his family had affordable childcare, they could avail themselves perhaps to maybe focus more on themselves and to grow professionally. And I think from our perspective, this childcare becomes really an essential piece of the foundation of these families to allow them to grow. And hopefully that we could then allow them to advance and have a career ladder for them in our organization. So we think this is a fantastic opportunity, first and foremost, just for the community. But if we were to look at it more for our workforce, we feel it offers tremendous benefits to help grow and retain quality employees.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. So really timely with, as we're having this discussion about helping to support families that are living Alice, how can we, help them progress, to more livable wages? And so it sounds like you all are seeing that as a possibility, even with this model here. So thank you so much. So according to a Maryland Family Network survey of Maryland childcare providers, more than half would have to close permanently if they were required to stay closed for an extended period. We see that happening here in Howard County, with several large and small centers closing as a result of the impact of COVID-19. The survey also showed that the top 3 needs for reopening businesses were financial support, cleaning support, and PPE, or personal protective equipment. Stephen, how can we work together, state and local government, nonprofits, corporations, and more, to ensure the successes of these businesses, which in turn help build successful families?
Yeah, yes, this is really going to be a local, state, and public-private partnership. we have at the state level been able to use our CARES funding and others, state funding, to provide small grants. And granted, these are not meant to fill all the needs of childcare programs, but small grants of $800 and $1,600 for childcare programs. But that was mostly to help with the reopening. And these were to cover PPE, cleaning, sanitation, etc. Programs now we're seeing are going to be needing a lot more support. This pandemic is continuing, as all of us are experiencing, and we fully expect the needs to continue throughout the year and well into 21. So many counties have stepped up as well and found additional funds to support the childcare community. We need everyone to be doing that. So it's more state support, more federal support, more support from the local communities, and frankly, more support from businesses and philanthropy. Businesses have a lot to gain from making sure that their workforce has safe and healthy and secure childcare. If they don't, these workers will have to drop out of the system. And I'm very concerned that the kind of gains that we've seen in employment of women will be over the last 10, 20, 30 years will be lost because primarily women will be the ones that will likely be dropping out of the workforce to care for their children and make sure that their children are safe during the day. So I'm very concerned about this, and I know that the programs will need more support, and we all need to work together to find those dollars to make sure that we secure, and especially in Howard County, where the cost of childcare is so high, that those programs are supported and families have the resources to afford childcare.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Investment is key. So whether families have two head of households or one, we know that they juggle many priorities. Let's not even talk about this pandemic. In our family center model, we employ a family services coordinator, which we've spoken about, who assesses the family's strengths and needs and then builds a success plan with the family taking the lead. These are trained professionals who help our families increase their stability in housing, health, education, and employment. The family services coordinators set our program apart from others, and their role is crucial, especially during this pandemic. They help the family plan for the future, provide important mental health support, and assist them with navigating so many health and human services, which can be absolutely overwhelming. Net, how important is it for families to have an advocate like this to assist them in reaching goals they set for themselves? What other supports are important at this time?
Oh, so very, very important. Very essential that this family support person is in place. And doing that is so very important that when you're speaking of also reducing the barriers, that these organizations, these agencies, state, local, they do need to have a united front. And we have to ensure that they're not creating an internal barrier themselves. These clients that come to them, primarily they're going to be women of single families. They are already broken. They are broken down so much to the fact that, they have to come to get some assistance. And sometimes they encounter additional barriers by the organizations that they come to. And so as we're trying to service them in the best way that we can, I just feel like that it's so important that these agencies do reflect on their own processes and procedures to ensure that they're not creating an additional barrier for these families that are already broken. Internal barriers, or sometimes organizations don't even realize that that they have, and they're off-putting on the clients. And Organizations truly need to live up to what they're servicing and what they're doing to their clients. It is, I've had clients coming from, as I stated earlier, from a place of poverty. These families really just need not only just a listening ear, you know, their problems are sometimes much larger than what we can help them, but they don't need to encounter barriers that keep them that are coming from a place from the organizations themselves. Access is so important. So it's not good to have all these things if they don't have access to them. And, you know, so as we all say, we have to step into the shoes of the other person who is actually coming there. We have to know where they're coming from. And doing so is sitting on the other side where they are and ensuring that there are no additional barriers that they are inflicting on them because they are coming from a broken place.
Thank you so much, Nat. Jackie, how do you envision partners in multiple sectors coming together to create a stronger child care system in Howard County which supports our children and families?
Thank you for that question, Heather. I think that there are a couple of key things. I'd like us to continue to work on the brass tacks of we've got to have access, as Nat said. There's got to be spaces, but the minute this door opens, spaces will be full. So we want to think about this as, okay, and then where else are we going to go? What else are we going to do? Because we've got to elevate the conversation, I think, to a policy and systems approach in that access is key, and around access is the quality and affordability of childcare. But at the same time, we have a significant workforce here and a workforce issue. Childcare providers are paid at very low wages. They do a lot of hard work, and we've got to lift up this profession to a level at which they themselves can support their families, right? And we're not disproportionately, again, impacting a career that is women, highly employed by women of color. And then when anything happens here, they are disproportionately affected, and so are their families. So we need to think about, from a policy perspective, what do we want here in Howard County? What do we want our system of care to look like that includes a highly valued, trained, and paid workforce? That's one. And then the other side of that is, how do we make sure that we have a system of care for our children? We have a county, we don't have early Head Start. So this kind of environment is going to help that population. And then we're going to create a pathway for those children to then enter school ready to learn with the tools that they need, right, to enter the wonderful school system we have. But we're closing the achievement gap. We're working on models like this that will help kids to be able to have what they need to have the best start possible. That's an equity agenda. We've got to make sure we do that. And then thirdly, I would say we've got to increase the language and the outreach and the education to the business sector to make sure that they know that the investments in childcare are not only the health and human service sectors to do it, are not just for the nonprofit sectors to do it, but it is a good business decision. It is a very smart business decision to have a true return on investment on your employees, to make sure that they have safe places to have their children cared for, and that they are investing in resources, whether or not it's transportation for their employees to get to this center back and forth, or financial investments, or reimbursements for their employees, or critical partnerships. That's what we have to begin to think about, so that we know what we want a true quality system of childcare to look like here in Howard County. And that, I think, keeps us at the table, keeps us thinking, use us as a trusted partner. We're in this But I think that that's where I would say we need to be thinking about as we go forward.
Thank you so much, Jackie. So important. Such a, it sounds like that there is a recognized huge return on investment in this area. And so we want to complete this important conversation. So if you would just stay with us, if you're able, just a few more minutes. If you're not able to stay, we will be recording this conversation, and we will be sure to post it so you can watch the tail end of this conversation. So thank you in advance. So we would like to thank you, Jackie, and thank all of the wonderful panelists today. It has been such an illuminating and important conversation. I hope the takeaway for today is how critical it is that parents have a voice and choice in sending their children to a center that they feel comfortable with, where they know their child will be in an engaging and safe learning environment that prepares them for school, one that's close to work and home, and one that is affordable to them. We've shared some great ideas and programs here today, and we must continue to explore new solutions and adjust current models as the pandemic continues to have such a profound effect on the childcare industry. If you're interested in learning more about how you can help with the Family Center in Columbia, please visit uwcm.org/United for Columbia, and you'll see the URL on your screen right now. I think we've seen that there's no one silver bullet that will eliminate childcare barriers and strengthen our childcare system. It's going to take many organizations, corporations, lawmakers, and individuals working together to create the change that is needed to ensure the health and well-being of our children, families, businesses, and local economy. Please join us for our next session, where we'll be discussing the housing crisis in our region. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.